Hello, everyone. Hi. So good to be here today. Oh, hello. Hello, everyone. What a sweet Saturday morning. Hi. Oh, so good to see you, Wanda. Hi, honey. Aw. Hello to you, too. So good to see you. We are just starting up this live today, and I'm going to take a couple of minutes for folks to join. Really excited for this opportunity to bring my chef in residency to the live world of IG and to share some time with one of the exhibiting artists right now. So thank you so much for taking some time to join. Give it a couple more minutes for that to happen before we ask our guest to join us. Thank you for being here, everyone. Hello. I'm gonna toss something in the trash. I'll be right back. And welcome to my kitchen as well. It is really amazing to be able to have this experience of inviting people into our homes using these kinds of technology. So rare and so sweet to be able to do that with y'all today. Today what we're doing is a Tender Soul session. My name is Jocelyn Jackson. I am the present chef in residence of MoAD, the Museum of the African Diaspora in San Francisco. It's been a sweet year with a few different events that we've done so far. We have done a welcome and also acknowledgement of the legacy of Bryant Terry back in February. We did our Diaspora dinner with Rohana Bizret Martinez and Carla Hall in June. And in between, I've been doing these really sweet experiences with elders at the Booker T. Washington Community Service Center, and it's really so wonderful to be able to do our version of this experience with elders in the community that way. I am really grateful to be able to have an opportunity to have this Tender Soul session experience with Nimah, who I am going to ask to join now. Let's see if we can do this really smoothly. Nimah, I'm so glad you're there. Just a moment to add. And Nimah, you are now invited. And there we go. Thank you so much. Our guest today is joining us right now. Hello, so good to see you. And let's see if we can make that happen. There we go. It has been really sweet to develop this particular experience with my guest, Nimah, who is exhibiting at the MoAD right now as an emerging artist. And it has been an opportunity for us to connect both as artists and as folks that are in the experience of what is meaningful and vulnerable and healing about foods from Africa and the diaspora. So we'll be able to talk more about that and really learn what's possible when it comes to connecting all those dots. And Nimah, you're there. Thank you so much. Go ahead and click on to join for your invite, and I think that'll get us there. And if you want to request join, if that's a little bit easier, feel free to do that too. Oh, there we go. Oh, hello. Oh, it's so good to see you this morning. And it is afternoon, but it feels like morning. Thank you so much for joining in. So sweet. Excellent. And I think if Elizabeth has a moment to catch up with Nimah to make sure that all things are going in the right direction, that would be beautiful. Let me go ahead and get that going. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, there you go. Hi. Okay, go ahead and, oh, I'm telling you, We can do it, y'all. It just takes a little bit of patience and we're all there. And there we go. All right, it looks like you have the invitation to join. Let me know if that's true. All right, excellent. Welcome everyone that's coming in. We are really grateful to be able to have these experiences that can allow a lot of different people from different places to join. When MoAD may not be close at hand, maybe you're not able to get over to San Francisco to have the live experiences. It's really been sweet to have these happen. Nimah, it's like magic. It's like magic.
Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely. Well done. It's a little bit agonizing that at the beginning there, trying to get all the pieces together. So thank you for sticking with it and making it through.
Oh, no problem.
Oh,
it's good to be here with you.
Beautiful. I was just doing a bit of an introduction to my role at MoAD and the sweetness of being able to do this kind of alternative programming that can invite people in from different parts of the world even. All the time zones can hang out on IG Live and wherever people are to show up that way. And been welcoming in some folks as we're sort of ramping up right now. And this fact that we get to do this beautiful thing, this Tender Soul session together today. And what a sweetness it is, like as two, working artists, as two people that are in this world, really in this experience of living life out loud through art. It's so sweet to create a different moment, like of entry into that experience. And so when I think about you and my introduction of you, I think about the fact that yes, you have this incredible experience of educating yourself with a BFA and having this master's in arts education, which is just incredible. And what stands out for me often when I'm looking at artists and the work they do is the thing that's the outlier. And I love that you have this experience with peace studies and how that weaves in, because I have that same moment of, wow, I have a BA in artist, as an artist, as in fine arts, and I'm also an attorney. Like there are these things that happen in our lives to get us right on track, but it is often only able to be described in reverse. So it's really beautiful that you are on exhibit right now at MoAD as an emerging artist and have many different works there from different eras. But yes, at the heart of it is this tender-headed part of your exhibition that's just gorgeous. So I'm hoping everyone can get over there to enjoy it, and that we're able to do all this weaving of being multidisciplinary and containing multitudes as we have this conversation and as we cook together. And like I said, this is Tender Soul Sessions. It's something that I developed for specifically Black women and femmes to really have healing food experiences and to sort of tease out some of the story of how you have relationship with food and the diaspora through food. And so I was able to send you a little bit of an inquiry to get your response to questions that think about what is your cultural experience of food, what's your ecological connection to food, and what do you consider to be sacred. And that's where we come as we, sort of put together this experience to cook together. But right now, I want to take a moment for Nimah to speak to what you want people to know about you before we get started. And because there's a whole context of you, I'd love for folks, in whatever way you want to describe, to have as we are sharing this time together.
I really appreciate your entry point into the multifacetedness of identity, and even just like digging through the bios of like, yes, like I do have like this art component, and I think that we see art and we think that must be all they do, and yeah, there's a lot going on, and I feel like I'm an artist. I would like to say full time, and also have like a job that I do. more or less full time as a journalist. Peace studies is a part of my background. I am a daughter, a sister, a partner. They're just all of these parts that I think feed into being an artist, and like occupy the different spaces of my being. So I have a lot of gratitude for that kind of framing going into this, because sometimes I do feel like I'm like, take off this hat and we're putting on this hat. And I love entering into this space fully. So thank you for that. And I think, yeah, that's what I would want people to know. The exhibit at MoAD is up until the 20th, and I feel like even just looking through that exhibit, you will also see the different pieces there too, or at least I hope you will.
Yes, it's true. A lot of yourself is very much in this space, and it's such a gift when artists are able to do that, to be that vulnerable. So thank you for that.
Yeah,
And I think it's
thank
no
you.
mistake. It's Tender-Headed and Tender Soul Sessions. Like, we're on some kind of matrix moment. So let's
Yes,
be in that too.
it's not a coincidence that we have that word in common, I feel.
It's very sweet. And I would love to take people into our process as well. One of the things that I mentioned as we've communicated a bit is that for me, cooking is something that is ancestral. And so one of the things I brought to this experience is my grandma Lovey, and a little bit of, you know, this textile and sort of sacred things that mean something to me as I'm trying to live into the legacy of my family through all the different things that I do. Is there anything that you point to as far as the creation beyond your artwork, the creation of altar in your life in order to make an intention, to set an intention?
I mean, I think with this cooking that we're doing, I'm really looking to the matriarchs in my family, looking at my mom and looking at my grandma, who is in Nigeria right now, but did spend like years living with us. And I think that the time that she lived with us is the time that we ate the most Nigerian food, which is what we're drawing for in this cooking session here. And so I think she doesn't know that I'm doing this, but like I hope that she maybe is like in Nigeria feeling it.
Oh, I have no doubt. I have no doubt. Yeah, those traditions transcend for sure. And you know, with that experience of speaking them into this space right now, it feels even more powerful to not only learn from each other in our traditions and our experiences, our lived experiences, but also something about, you know, carrying on tradition and legacy at the same time. So thank you for that, offering them into this experience. Wow. We have such a short period of time. It's sometimes brutal to think that something that can happen in only an hour. These sessions often are up to like 3 hours. And so that's why we did a little bit of a different, shorter version. And we did some sort of TV magic between the two of us to have some of the things that you mentioned be present while still having a short period of time. So I'd love to talk to you about how this menu came to be. Our menu includes a drink. It is hibiscus drink. And as many of you know, hibiscus is throughout the diaspora of many names. The thing that we are doing today sort of combines a couple different of your responses to what is culturally, ecologically, and sacred to you when it comes to food. And specifically, you mentioned stone fruit cherries. And cherries in this season, just like they're so powerful, they're so abundant, they're so delicious. So I wanted to make that combination of what we have in our traditions as Black folks, made something that really is a drink of liberation. The red drink, right? It's such a thing and really been embraced often with Juneteenth specifically. What it was for you when you're thinking about, this was a question about what have you harvested or cultivated? Why did those cherries stand out to you?
I have always considered myself, I was born in November. I was born on Thanksgiving, actually. And so I consider myself a fall baby. And like, I love like the crisp overcast season, but summer fruit is my jam. Like I am so happy when summer rolls around for the fruit alone. And I do have memories of, I grew up for the most part in Walnut Creek. And we would walk down to the farmer's market by Civic Park, and then later it relocated next to Target. And we would get these big bags of cherries. And when you sent me the list of things that I needed to go out and get, like cherries was on it, but I was like, oh, we have cherries. Like we stay stocked on cherries this season. Because it's also such a brief season too, where it feels brief, where like you have all these peaches, nectarines, cherries,
Yes.
and then they're gone,
Yes.
like to not be seen again. And you can't really, like you can import them, but they're also like such a sensitive fruit
Right.
that like you can't really, you have
Doesn't taste
to,
like summer.
yeah.
Too. It's just like, oh, it maybe scratches an itch, but oh, that's not it.
It's not quite it. Yeah, it's such like it's a fruit that keeps you present.
Exactly that. And so what we're doing is this recipe is in Nigeria, which I'm so grateful you can teach me things here. There's so many different names. There's sorrel, there's dablina, there's jamaica. But in Nigeria, the word that's used to describe this drink is zobo. And so it's a zobo cherry refresher that we're doing today. And we have all the things pre-measured so we can sort of just combine things and let things happen. But this recipe is so simple and so accessible, very much because it's something that is feels like it's important to have close at hand and quick at hand, right? So what we're going to do is start with that one and have our saucepan with our 3 cups of water and have that going. Go ahead and boil that, start that water to boil. And then we're going to make our, add our jamaica, which is it's just beautiful. So deep red. It just says so much just in the way it looks. And we'll add that to it so that that can be coming to a boil, and then we'll steep it for about 10 minutes, turn off the heat and steep it. And then we're going to add lemon and agave. And after that, we'll show you a little bit about how to finish the drink in the glass with mottled cherries, some crisp ice to make it nice and cool, and just enjoy. And one of the things that Nimah asked, which I love that you asked, is I only was able to find this form of hibiscus where I am right now. I was like, get that, whatever it is. Like, there's something about like diaspora foods, like you find whatever version you can in order to satisfy not only the craving, but like the cultural reality of being connected to homeland. It shows up in so many different ways. So however you're able to find it, that's the solution. And that's I think I called it like, that's the survival strategy. And so honoring that too, like in some of these recipes, you know, they could be shortened a little bit or changed a little bit to make them more accessible. Do that. So I'll add that in and be able to show that process with that drink, and hopefully folks can enjoy that experience. One of the things that we also have that you mentioned, and I want you to tell me all about this. There is a love that you have for plantain. And I also want to know how you say plantain, because everybody says that differently too. I mean, that in of itself is a whole dissertation. But
I know we talk about pecan, but
yeah, exactly.
No one's
exactly.
Yeah,
So
I think plantain.
Yeah, you've cooked this before. This is something that you cook a lot.
Yes. And I say plantain.
Nice.
However, my mom does still have the really strong Nigerian accent that I can't hear, but I know she has it because people tell me she has it. And so it might be something that, who knows what she would say if she had, if she didn't have that accent.
Exactly. But you connected so closely to the experience of childhood, and this is something that was passed on to you as far as this is how you cook this. And this is why, this is when the ripeness is just right. This is how it feels when it's caramelized. Like you got all that learning by experience, by osmosis, you know, all those things. But how did you prepare a plantain?
So usually we would take it, and I have one that is not cut up over here. But I did do my homework. I did dice it. And we would cut it in slices so that they kind of look like slanted discs.
Exactly.
And then you would just heat up a bunch of oil and you lay them down. My mom would do it with her hands. She can't feel any heat in those hands, but you know, I do it. I do it gingerly with a fork. I still have the fear. And then you kind of brown them on each side, and then you lay them down in a napkin and you salt them. And that's usually how we eat them. My mom, strangely enough, a lot of Nigerians do it when the plantain is ripe. My mom likes it like a little bit before ripe, but that's a her thing. I like them like almost overripe, like the soft, very sweet, like when the sugars are starting to take over.
It's so true. And I love that nuance of how each of us can choose. Like, what is the personality of this plant that I want and why? What have I been taught and what have I experienced that makes it so? And that's why I was so grateful to bring something that hasn't been experienced by you yet to this whole plantain story, which is from the Ghanaian tradition, and it's kelewele. And kelewele is a spice fried plantain. And it's so, I'm also most familiar with the slanted disc, version when it comes to sweet plantain, but this is more of a dice. So even in the shape of it, it changes. And these are the times when I'm making this connection to the artistry and the way of life of an artist. You know this as a painter, you know this as a multimedia artist. When you change the form of something, everything is different. And so we get to have a different relationship, right? And so kelewele is this diced version. It is just like 1-inch cubes or such. And what we're going to do with it, instead of cooking it plain, which is a typical sweet cooking method, sweet plantain cooking method, is we're going to spice it. Often I do this with fresh ingredients, fresh garlic, fresh ginger, fresh onion. But that's, time is what time it is, and we're adapting. And so we've created, we've already pre-measured our ingredients that we're going to put in. This combination of ginger and garlic and onion and cayenne and salt. And we're going to put that in the bowl with the plantain. And plantain is so amazing because it receives things so well. Like its texture, it will take on flavors and really get, I don't know, there's something really sweet to me about things that receive. And plantain is really one of those. And I'm going to get messy. I'm going to go ahead and use just my hand.
Yes.
I think in the recipe I mentioned, this is something that has to be thorough, but it also has to be gentle. And that also reminds me of these things that are present in the work that you do of really describing how we have an opportunity in life to be both things, to be gentle and to also be really strong and powerful and comprehensive in the ways that we tell our stories and express ourselves.
Yes.
I'm wondering if you can speak to that a little bit. What is it like for you to sort of walk that line of tender and gentle as well as strong and powerful and unapologetic?
I love that question. It's something that when I gave my artist talk at MoAD, I did it with Kija Lucas, who's a friend of mine and has been a friend of mine for a while. And when we were talking before the artist talk, we were talking about like the work of nostalgia in artworks. And I feel like for a time it was like looked down upon to be nostalgic, to be soft, to be tender. Like you were supposed to make these like big sweeping statements, and I had always embraced the softness in my work, or like the celebratory parts of my work. And I'm like, it can also, like, we're dealing with things like just thinking about the Tender-Headed series, which has a lot to do with braiding. We're looking at like this act that like my mom, like those braids had to last, so they were pulled, they were tight, but that was also just like undeniably an act of love. And so like, how are you dealing with both things where you're like, but like I know the reasons behind this, and like I know that like the intention's not to hurt me, like there's something else underneath this. So I think it's really freeing to be able to be in all sides of an experience, because in life, like we're living all of these different things, we're encountering all of this sort of emotions, and we're not really trying to, or at least I'm not trying to get towards happiness necessarily, but like fullness, like we want wholeness. And that I hope is in the work too. That's what I'm going for
It's
there.
so true. And that's why your mode of work, your media choice is so important to me. I did a LEAP project for Ava DuVernay called Fixed Price Menu. And it was a quilted tablecloth and it was a whole composed
Wow.
meal, right? It was an installation via food to reflect a story of police violence. It can be that,
Mm,
right? It can be that tender and also really just powerful expressions. But what I think about in food is that the recipes and the stories are the threads. They're the
yes.
quilting that happens. They're the love letters between generations, right? And so the
Mhm.
opportunity for us to say, you know, for you to have very literal moments of embroidery, connecting these braided figurative, you know, figures together across space. It's just incredible to me to see that and feel that, because that's something that I know you tend to. It's the way something feels. So thank you
Mm,
for doing that, and I hope people are able to go directly to your website and see what I'm talking about, because it's really special.
thank you.
And yeah, just so much there. And I think we have combined our plantain. I'm going to do a
Yes.
rinse. I'm going to do a hand rinse real quick,
Same.
just to keep that real. It's always worth it, but you gotta deal with the impacts.
Yes.
And we are, like you said, going to get into the oil of it all, and we're going to heat our
Hmm.
oil in that. I see your fry skillet. Yes, yes. And
Yeah.
we're going to heat that to a point of being just the right temperature to fry these up. And we're going to do this version of frying that is um, really spread apart nicely, so there's not a lot of space. There
Mhm.
is just a good amount of space between the plantains. If they're too crowded, they just don't crisp up the same, right? You've had this experience, you know.
Yes.
And that amount of space, but also we're doing sort of the single turn approach today. Sometimes we'll do the full shake and the shimmer and all that, you know, to get our plantains ready and brown. But we'll just do a thin layer to cook this through and be able to see how the spices and the sugars caramelize together to make another version of this plantain that we love so much. And yeah, just feels important often to see what are the possibilities in any given food. Because
Yes.
plantains, they go sweet, they go savory, they go crispy, they go smooth and soft, they go dessert, they do main, like it's everything. It's so incredible that it can do so many things. And that feels like its own gift as well. And it'll take a little bit of time here to get to get that heat up to the temperature that we want. And I would love for you to speak to something else that I love about the way that you approach how you express yourself. And that is something that we're doing in this moment, which is collaboration.
Mm.
You've expressed that in some ways of shared drawings where people are working together in order to make
Yes.
something that just somehow turns out right. You know, it's like there's no planning.
Yeah.
It just turns out. But what has that felt like and looked like for you as you have, you know, gone through this process of working through what were your food memories and what were your food experiences? How's
Oh
collaboration
yeah.
played out that way too?
Um, that's a great question. So the something that I mentioned during my artist talk was this idea of I worked on this project when I was an undergrad where I was in a figure drawing class. There was a figure in the middle, um, and everyone's at their own easel, and they start drawing for 2 minutes, and then when 2 minutes is up, you rotate over to the next easel. You're uh, like someone who's next to you, like they're drawing, and you keep going, and it went all around the circle. And like when they put these drawings up, they were like kind of perfect, like perfect in that they were like startlingly accurate. And it's this idea that if we're all pulling things to center, it gets to center. And I think that's like a really beautiful thing. Like that happens years ago, and I still it's become kind of like a cornerstone moment for me.
Mm.
And I feel like with food, like you can have those like meals where like it's one person and they're like an executing a vision. But there's also something about those beautiful like motley meals that you make when it's like either potluck style or it's like everybody's in the kitchen and we're like achieving this common goal. And that I don't know if there are like a ton of venues for that to happen. I don't think the world is set up in a way where like that happens a lot.
Yeah.
And I think the world would be better if there were setups for that to happen so much more. So I remember being like my family cooks meals together. Me and my partner cook meals together, and it's always this act of love. Like food is so important to me. There's nothing that I like more than like having a craving, and I have like a new craving every day, and then being able to like execute that craving, and like even better if like someone can share it with me.
It's true. And you got right to the
Mhm.
point. And I feel like this is where your peace studies is peeking in, where you're saying
Mm,
the world can be better when we do these things together. And I feel like that's really the purpose of how you not only compose your work, but also your intention with how vulnerable and transparent you are in it. You're inviting other
mm,
people to do the same. You're inviting other
thank
people
you.
to, it's like when I did a South Asian radical walking tour
Mm,
in Berkeley. And one of the things that she mentioned was Black and brown folks often are uh, only able to tell their stories from surveillance and not from observation. And that
mm,
struck me,
mhm,
right? But when we have these collective moments of observing one another's lives, like you'd provide from your work, your
yeah.
autobiographical, manifestations of tenderness,
Mhm.
that's such a gift of healing, I think. And it really gets to the point of what the power of art is to really impact people's lives and give them, like I said, permission to go there too. So
Mhm.
it's so sweet to see it play out that way.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really happy to hear your impressions of it. I do have this theory that like if we looked at like the kind of like the inside moments of people's lives, like if you were just to be the fly on the wall of someone's home, like
Yeah.
you wouldn't be able to help but fall in love with them. Like it's just we don't get to see these inside moments as often. We like have a lot of these outside moments. Um,
Exactly. Oh my God. And the fact that it is so much this experience of it's not allowed or it's not socially appropriate, like all these boundaries that are set against this
right.
human connection. I'm like, no, please don't believe that story, please.
Right, open it up.
Pretty much. And I'm being very precious in my placing these. You don't have to be this precious.
I like I like the safety of the tongs. I feel like, as I said, my mom would, probably just use her hands, but
Exactly.
it's good to know your limits.
Oh my God, it's so true. And one of the things that I also get to do in life is People's Kitchen Collective, and you're reminding me of that as we're talking about how we can, as sort of a group of people, uh, either immigrate or diaspora, global South, global majority. How do we take time to claim these traditions of collective
Mm,
living? That
mhm,
are so representative of our survival. And once, because if we're convinced out of that, that's often what's led to oppression and these versions of destruction in some ways in our communities. Uh, I'm wondering what has been your connection and experience of return to Nigeria?
I it's I have not been able to go in my adult life.
Yeah.
I had plans to go when right before the pandemic hit, and disrupted so
Oh,
many plans.
oh,
Um,
oh, that
yeah,
breaks my
so
heart, Nima.
right.
So
I think
close.
I will. The goal is to go soon. And I do feel like in the arc of my life, like I had this feeling in my youth that like it wasn't so important. And like as I've gotten older, that return has felt more important.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I'm wondering what I think it's a privilege to
Mhm.
know to have origins that you can trace, and I think I would like to be able to explore that more. I don't want to, yeah, I don't want to ignore the fact that that's there, and to see like my grandparents, my grandpas on both sides have since passed, but I do have two grandmas that are alive, and I also have a great grandma that's alive,
Oh
right? Which is huge, and so that's important. That's
my
so
God.
important.
Like, I want to turn this into a whole, like, everybody build up the manifestation of return for Nimah. Like, it needs to happen ASAP.
All good energy and vibes are welcome. I feel them. I want them.
Oh, that's so important. That is such a blessing to have that many generations. You're right.
Yeah, yeah. And so while the physical return hasn't happened, like I do feel maybe like a heart return, or like a want for the physical return, as soon as I can make it happen. I feel like I need to prioritize that too.
Yeah. Can you offer us another gift? And I understand that I'm putting you on the spot, and please
Sure.
make all the boundaries you'd like, but could you give us the gift of the meaning behind your name, your first and last name?
Oh, sure. My name means blessing. And it's interesting. In Nigeria, they have like all of the elders in your family play a part in naming you. And so like I have a few names like given by like my dad's grandma and my mom's, and like it all comes together. And I recently had my cousin had a baby. His name's Tumi. And he was born just this past, just almost a year ago exactly. And when he was born, they sent out like a naming chart, which is like a new thing, and it had like all of his names and like who gave him his names. But it was kind of done word of mouth when I was younger, but it was blessing. I think I came a little early. I was kind of and I wasn't named in the hospital. It took a while. So I was baby girl Nimah for like 24 hours or baby girl for 24 hours. And then it became blessing. I was not as easy of a child as my sister. And I came early and I was healthy. And so that was it.
That's beautiful. Oh, thank you for that. There's something in our names that feels so important, because in my experience, it's the thing you hear the most in your life, and whatever it means or whatever, is attached to that is sort of part of the path of your life. And so I love that you are living into your name in the way that you are. It's really beautiful.
And I do really feel like I've grown into my name. I don't know, not necessarily have grown into being a blessing, although I hope that I am. But like have grown into, like, it feels like I feel like a Nimah to me. Versus when I was a kid, I was like, my name's weird and like I don't know about this stuff. But now I'm like, oh yeah, it feels like it suits me.
I love that. It's so true in so many parts of our life, how we have to grow into it.
Yes.
I feel like that's the invitation too of greater understanding, and I feel like that's the invitation as an artist as well. The work that we produce or create into the world, often when it is collaborative in nature, is that also. It's the you have to, because you don't do the easy thing. Like it's not often that an artist is doing the easy thing. You're doing the challenging thing. You're doing the thing a little bit more difficult. And that also is an invitation to, the audience, the people who interact with it. It's like, are we going to lead lives that are easy, only easy? Because we want ease, we want all that, don't get me wrong. But where is this place that we can expand and find more possibility? And so often I believe art practices can give the gift of that. Do you smell what's coming off of these right now?
Yeah, the ginger smell is so strong.
Right?
I'm really loving this meal, and I'm excited about this because I feel like when you cube the plantain, you kind of get more plantain per bite. Like I feel like you get to maximize your plantain eating. That's a very exciting thing for me.
It's so true. And that's why, I don't know, the materials always matter for me, like, and the methods always matter. Because this is, you know, like you said, it's more surface area. And the heat can get in there in different ways. The spices can attach in different ways. And it's the same for any practice and the decision that we make for the materials that we use, right?
Absolutely.
Like these opportunities to see what's possible are limitless. And that's such a gift of this, of food and of art for me as well. I don't know. There's something about both that really give me a feeling of possibility for not just myself, but of our communities and our world. And I take it that seriously. And I feel like you do too. Like that's what's possible. Oh my goodness, incredible. The smell just always sends me every time. Yeah, and I also, the what?
I said the ginger.
Yeah,
I am
the ginger.
Loving that.
Are yours browning just right?
Yes. We are getting a good brown.
Good. It's so amazing what those sugars can do. They just show off, really. The other dishes I'm actually going to do with the seniors that I cook with that uses plantain is sancocho. Does that sound familiar? It is.
How do you make that?
You know, I love luxuriating in the diaspora and the African foodways that exist there. And this one is from Brazil. Oh. And it is cassava, it's potato, it's plantain, and it's the unripe plantain. So it's like a boiled and it just sends me every time, partly because of the flavor, but the other part is, 85% of the slave trade went in the direction of Brazil. So I know I got cousins there. Like, I know that's
absolutely
true. And so it's like this gift across time and across geography of what my ancestors made to survive, that I can now sort of get the benefit of those stories and that experience. This is how seriously I take food.
It deserves to be taken seriously. No, I love that. I just want to, I think I told you that I'm in Detroit right now, and Allied Media Projects has this, they're doing these like screening sessions all around Detroit, and they had one called Gather, and it was all about like indigenous food practices and like the start of this like indigenous cafe out in Arizona. And it was, I feel like talking about like these practices across time, and like also returning to these practices, even if like at some time you weren't doing those, but it is like a relationship to your history that is really special and super unique to food. And it's like how cool that you could experience something that other folks experienced decades ago, centuries ago. Like, that's huge.
And that's what I see in the way that you incorporate textile and embroidery. There's no like so many, and this is also apparent. Like, I'm so glad you're up while Black Venus is up, because there's so much crossover there as well. But a Black woman is going to reach out for a quilt or a piece of cloth or a piece of thread. Like, that's just a tradition, right? And so I'm so grateful to see it in your practice. Wow.
Oh, this looks really good.
Yeah. I'm almost there. You almost there?
I think so.
And let's see. And we have our little draining tray.
Yes.
Oh my God, if you don't have a good draining tray, what you gonna do? It's imperative.
It is.
Oh my God, it's just like little golden nuggets. And like you said, we put the salt in the spice blend that we added to this, but
Yes.
when they're hot and just out of the grease is that moment to do just a little bit more sprinkle. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll do that too, just to make sure that it gets coated before it cools down. I'm going to take that heat off. Shall we tell everybody about the special guest of our menu? The last answer that you shared with me about something, a meal that is sacred to you. And what is that? Nimah, tell us all about it.
It is a goosey stew, which is a beautiful, I feel like I hadn't had a goosey stew for years, possibly like several years. And my mom came to visit me, and there's actually a ton of Nigerian food around here. And so we tried it, and I was kind of like I tried this a few weeks ago, but like I don't know if you're gonna think it's good because like, you know, you have the palate. But she tried it, and she was like, not bad. So we were able to get some. Mine's from a local spot called Yum Village. And it sent me back.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking about like my grandma, like blending up okra in the blender, like my grandma buying oranges, like all of the things. Like I just like saw my grandma in that time and eating fufu with my hands. And of course this stew.
Oh my God, that is it. Like just so tangible the way you describe it. It's like, oh, it's just so felt. And I wanted to give some of those ingredients because we're not cooking it in this moment, but it's here because both of us went to a local Nigerian restaurant to grab it because it felt important for it to be present. I went to Man Must Walk in Oakland. You might remember. Yeah, it's such a great store. And I went ahead and got all the ingredients, the crayfish, the goosey is actually the ground up melon seed that's just incredibly delicious. Also the locust bean that goes in it. I mean, if you don't have the funk, it's not Nigerian food. It's got to have the funk. And then
it does have a little bit of funk.
Exactly. The bitter leaves that can go into it. Like this, oh my gosh. The dried fish.
Yes.
It's not like just don't even try to do just stock or broth. You have to build up the flavors.
Yeah, it takes
really
time.
do. When you're having these ingredients specifically, you can't approximate it really. And then ethical palm oil. I know the palm oil is something that you have to really look closely at because it has created some ecological impacts. But ethical palm oil, that as the finish, that red glisten on the top, oh, it's just so beautiful. So I want to be sure to make sure, you know, that's something that I am planting the seed for folks to explore. It often is like the version I got was the mixed meat is what they serve from Men Must Walk. And it has the tripe, it has the, you know, all these different organ meats and, you know, because this is also something that has been traditionally found to be healing foods, to really, tend to those parts of the body that are often rejected by, you know, norms.
Yes.
It's like, no, that's not true either.
Yeah.
And I do also make like just a strictly fish version. And I do have a vegetarian version as well because I want people to have access points. But wherever you're coming to it, the story of egusi, the story of all these ingredients coming together is so powerful and so connecting. So connected. So I'm going to go ahead and do up this hibiscus, the zobo. And do you have yours that you can do your cherries?
I do.
And the cherries were, you know, some people have very fancy modeling machines where you pound the fruit. I don't have one of the pound the fruits. I have, you know, a mortar and pestle, but we're not doing that. So I just said, you know, using a bowl and a fork in order to just get all those juices released. That's what we're going for. We're wanting the zobo and cherry to mingle with one another. And I have to admit, there's a part of me that really sometimes likes eating my drinks. It's a thing. It's like
it's heartier.
something to, you know, just sort of, you know, lock onto a bit. And the recipe that I shared with you is enough for 2 drinks.
Oh, perfect.
And so we'll make.
Looks like my partner gets some after all.
You mentioned your partner. It's like, we can't be mean. We can't just.
Yeah, food's about sharing.
Exactly. The sharing is caring. So I have all of those modeled up. And what I'm going to do also is, on my side with the hibiscus, I'm going to go ahead and with the liquid that I already boiled down with the leaves. You can see that a bit. So red, so delicious. I'm going to spit this out. And I said in the recipe I sent to you, and that you can throw away this hibiscus if you want, but you can keep it and chop it up and make jam out of it.
Wow, is it hibiscus jam? Whoa!
So good.
I'm on the lookout for the flowers themselves.
Yes.
I can't make jam out of my concentrate, but I will. I do want to try that.
I am so sorry that I didn't have enough time to send you a care package. I'm going to send you one when we're done here. It'll be in
I am intrigued by the jam.
So we're going to squeeze lemon into it, or excuse me, lime, because there's just something, in itself, hibiscus is very tart, but we're going to sweeten it and combine it with the cherry, so the lime offsets all those things, right? And that's the thing about cooking, is you learn all these different ways that flavors combine or react to each other. And you don't know until you know. You don't know, oh, why is that? It's like the agusi. And the ability for all those flavors to grow and combine with one another. How many aunties did it take is always my thought. Like, how many aunties did it take to get to
I feel like that's the name of the cutest children's book. That's the name of the children's book we write together, Jocelyn. How many aunties did it take?
That's so true. I'm surprised it doesn't exist yet. And then we have I'm going to add in the agave as the sweetener. I just love agave. I like the flavor of it, but also agave and maple you can add when something is warm or cool. Whereas like honey and sugar you can't, right? And I'm just trying to be in alternative sweetener land in general in life, because that's a reality with our peoples as well, to manage our sugars. Yes. And then we're going to mix all that together. And the way that I shared to put it together is to put the mottled cherries at the bottom of your glass, whichever glass that you choose, and put those mottled cherries at the bottom. There we go. I'm just going to do half of them in this glass and half in another. And it gets a little bit of that juice in there too. And then some cubes of ice, because we got warmer liquid coming with this. So I'm going to and then I'm going to pour that over the ice and finish it with a little lime garnish. Beautiful. I mean, this red, it just always, every time, I'm like, how do we deserve nature? You know what I mean? Like, how do we deserve what nature gives us? I have no idea.
Oh my gosh. I see you with that garnish, Jocelyn.
Hey, you got to have a little pop in whatever you put together. Make sure that it has a little bit, it's like accessorizing that we do in life.
Yes.
Just a little bit of something. You know this is true.
Oh my gosh. Oh, yeah, the colors of this.
Yeah, just so deep and rich. I love that it symbolizes our liberation so much.
Let me see if I have an extra little wine so I can get on your level.
Nice.
I do.
Cool. Oh my goodness, that looks great.
Yes, the colors, the yellow of the plantain, the red of the hibiscus.
And this is my egusi, honey.
Oh my gosh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes.
The first time I cooked with it wasn't until I was 40 years old.
Mm.
Like its own return, like being introduced to those ingredients, right? That aren't typically going to be in my awareness, or, you know, it's just.
And you were saying that you adapted it to be a pescatarian and vegetarian agusi too.
That's correct. Yeah. So I've
Amazing.
adapted many recipes for accessibility, and I never presume to be authentic. I know I'm doing something that would be, the aunties would maybe not approve of.
Yes. Okay, I have mine over here.
Beautiful. Oh, that looks so good.
Smells good. You get that funk.
Funk. And so let's go ahead and taste those plantains.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Mm,
I really love that combination every time.
so good.
Wow.
Mm.
Every time. This is the thing where I keep it special. I don't eat it a lot.
Uh-huh.
Because it would be dangerous.
I know. I'm happy that it's like kind of a process. It does keep me from eating it every day.
It's true. I'd love to cheers to you.
Mm. Cheers to you, Jocelyn. This
dear.
is so cool.
So sweet to spend this time with you. I can't wait to keep learning from you. There's such a sweetness in knowing that the trajectory of both your professional and personal lives are filled with so much still to be, you know, that thing of revealed, that thing that life does. So thank you for being open to all of us being a part of that journey with you. And like I said, I think Elizabeth has dropped so many links in the comments to be able to follow you and your work.
Yes.
Who you're represented by, your personal website, your exhibition at MoAD that's up right now, and the interview, like you said, you did, your artist talk, all of that is there. And I hope, and I send people there to learn more about what you are doing. Is there anything else that you would like to share in this weird life where we have to keep something to an hour?
Right. I mean, just that it was a pleasure to meet you. It is so cool to see the overlap in our practices, like different mediums, but still so many overlapping threads. And what a cool way to get to know someone. Like, this has been really special. And I feel really lucky to have gotten to know you in this way. And thank you for taking 3 answers to 3 questions and creating an amazing dinner that I'm going to eat right now.
Yes, I love it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's something about the plantain with the amusi. Oh.
Yeah, they're meant to be together.
It's
Star-crossed
so
lovers.
And we know this too, the sweet and the savory being able to play on the same plate. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So delicious. Thank you for inspiring this experience together today. And there's so much more to come. I can't wait.
Same. I hope we can do something like this again soon.
Agreed. I'm telling you, collaboration. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Have a beautiful Saturday, my dear.
You too, Jocelyn. So good to see you.
You too. Bye, hon. Thank
Take
you
care.
everyone for joining us.